Okay, so I want to explain to you how to do these connected speech prompts. After this week, you'll generally just get a couple of prompts for you to use, unless I'm getting feedback from you and in the community that you need more support with how to do them. The main thing with connected speech is that we're picking just one thing to review. Okay. The reason for this is our brains, they can't handle more than one thing at a time. And as you are implementing the elements of connected speech, you also want to be building up your confidence as you're doing this. So generally what will happen, the classic way of doing this is people record themselves speaking, they listen to the audio, and they immediately say, "Oh, I don't like how I'm pronouncing the R sound. Oh my God, you can hear that my intonation is bad. Actually, there's too many pauses between my words." And they start to criticize all these different things. And what happens is that really is demotivating and it's pointless, right? We always have things to improve. Always. We will have nothing to improve when we're dead, as far as I know. Okay. So what's much more constructive is to pick just one thing, notice it, work on it, analyze it. And one moment, Rita's having a moment. Okay. Sorry about that. Rita is sitting in the sun and has made herself too hot. Okay, so the point is we pick one thing, we do that thing, and then we analyze that thing constructively. So remember, you're not only working on your English here, you're working on coaching yourself. So remember that our brains have this 80% negativity bias. So we know that our brains are not neutral. Our brains are going to look for the criticism and they're going to look for the things that they think is not good about the way that we're speaking. So we need to help ourselves get to neutral by thinking, okay, my intention before I record this audio is to work on the stressed syllable in this word, in this sentence. And then once I'm good with that, I'm going to then analyze the stressed word inside the sentence. And then I'm going to analyze where my intonation is after I've put those pieces into place. But I'm just going to analyze one at a time. And I would also decide, how do you want to analyze it? Do you want to compare it to the training video that you watched? Do you want to compare it to how close it is to my voice when you're using my voice? Do you want to compare it to your previous audios? So be really, really intentional. Give yourself a couple of minutes before you do the activity to decide how you will analyze your speech and your connected speech in this video. Okay. Really, really important. And it's not me just saying like, oh, like you're lovely and fine. No, this is a strategy. This is how we improve. We understand our brains. We create the circumstances for success. And one of those things is to just not generally criticize ourselves, but to pick one thing to evaluate and reflect on. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, so you can pause this for a second if you want to just think about the sentences that you're going to use. I'm going to talk about my values. So the text, or rather the audio that we're using this week, is the self-trust session. After this week, you're going to have lessons from the main membership to use, or I'll mix things up if you need other things, okay? So I'm going to talk about my values, and what I recommend you do is start by picking a couple of sentences. I will give you examples and then a little quiz so that you can check if you're right or not. And you start today by just mimicking my sentences, and so that you can compare your stress and intonation. It's very difficult to speak English. And then in your second speaking prompt this week, I will just give you prompts for you to create your own sentences, and then you can share them underneath the lesson prompt in the community, and you can get feedback, and hopefully you'll start to work together as well, and you'll start to notice how those things, how you can hear the differences in connected speech with people who have different first languages. Okay, so values. My first value is freedom. And that's probably my most important value. It shows up in how I make most of my decisions. So I ask myself, will this create more freedom or less freedom? My second value is expansion, and expansion is all about getting people and myself to think bigger. So to have an idea and then to look at, okay, how can we take this further? Where can we take this? Now, I have a third value, which is connection. And for me, that shows up in how I see the connection between everything. When I read a book, I'm thinking about how this will have an impact on the people in my life, how it will have an impact on, it's like the butterfly effect, all of these things. And then the fourth one is beauty. And for me, that is about being surrounded by beautiful things. Doesn't mean buying things. It's not about consumerism, but it can be about being able to work with this view that I have, and seeing a valley, and how actually that's more important to me than having a beautiful apartment where I'm looking at a concrete wall. So I invite you to pick any one of those sentences, mark the stress, mark the intonation, and then you'll see there's a little quiz, and I will give you the answers in the little quiz. And then later in the week, you'll have your own prompts to use. Okay.